Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/spookshow. Then go over to morbidlybeautiful.com, as we are now part of the Morbidly Beautiful Podcasting Network. Hello and welcome to another edition of the All-American Spookshow podcast. I'm Josh, and I'm joined here with Donny.
Hey.
And the Professor Smoke. Will couldn't be with us. He's back on assignment, so we had a brief moment with him there where he was back, and then he just disappeared again. But onward and upward, and I hate that he had to miss this another big Cannon Fodder, because this is definitely one of the ones that leans on the higher end of the Cannon scale. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. But we're going to be talking about Missing in Action from 1984, the Chuck Norris classic. But before we get into it deep, I'll go ahead and toss the usual information. You can contact us at allamericanspookshow@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at AA Spookshow. We're over on Instagram, the Slasher app, Facebook, TikTok. You should be able to find us on all of those by going down to our Linktree link down in the show notes. We also have a TeePublic page where we sell logoed merchandise, other cool designs. So we encourage you to go check that out. That link is also down below. And of course, we have our YouTube channel where we're gonna have. We recently just changed it up back at the first of the month. We ended the live Deadline Horror News. So if you're just listening to us for the first time since that went down, and you notice that there haven't been any new ones, we ended it. But we're going to be putting out some new cool stuff here pretty soon. Hope to have some announcements here on the show and over on our socials and everything. So you want to follow us on all of those to get the latest information when we have some new cool stuff going up, because kind of reshuffling the deck a little bit. We're going to have some new stuff on Patreon, a lot of new stuff on the YouTube channel, taking stuff from there and switching them around, blah, blah, blah. So just kind of, like we said, moving the chairs around the pool patio a little bit here in the Spook Show universe. So you want to be a big part of that. So we encourage you to do that. And also, we also encourage you to go over to Apple Podcasts if you listen to us that way, or on Spotify, and give us a 5-star rating. It helps get some more eyes and ears on the product. If you would help us out and do that, we would definitely appreciate it. And of course, if you're listening to us today, we definitely appreciate you doing so. And we encourage you to go check out all these other cool things. And of course, patreon.com/AASpookshow, where we have Crapster Piece Theater every month. We do the Library of the Professor video minisodes, lots of cool stuff over there. So we encourage you to become a patron at that. And you get early access to the episodes. If you're a patron, you would have got this a day or two early over there. So, and that's at least at the $5 level. So we encourage you to do that. Yeah, I guess without any further build-up, we'll go ahead and toss to the trailer for Missing in Action.
Vietnam, 1984. Chuck Norris is James Braddock, decorated war hero, ex-prisoner of war, an American on a mission. One man who couldn't forget the Americans that were left behind.
We categorically deny that there are any living MIA in Vietnam.
Wrong answer.
James Braddock has returned. To uncover the truth and free the soldiers.
We're going home?
Missing in action.
Damn right.
James Braddock declares war. The war isn't over until the last man comes home. America had no more heroes. Until now. Chuck Norris, Missing in Action.
All right, so there's the trailer for that. Now, before we get into the nitty gritty, you know, some of the usual stuff that we throw out there in the plot summary and a roundtable and all that, we'll toss to our recurring segment we have with author of the Canon Film Guide, Austin Trunick. we finally got a name for this thing, and we have a little intro that we put together for it. So here we go.
Cannon Chronicles with Austin Trunick.
Hello, Austin Trunick here, author of the Canon Film Guide. I am here today to talk about and give a little bit of backstory on the 1984 Canon film Missing in Action. That backstory is something I would like to call the great Canon switcheroo. It's actually very interesting. Jumping back a little bit, let's talk about Chuck Norris, movie star, karate champion, and creator of action jeans. Blue jeans with the stretchable crotch that make your high kicks go higher without splitting your pants. Now, Chuck had been doing many films at this point in his career. He was acting quite frequently, in addition to all of his sort of elder statesmen of karate stuff he was doing at this time. You had films like The Octagon, An Eye for an Eye, Silent Rage, Forced Vengeance, lots of B-movies, really, cheap action films. And Chuck was looking to find a project that would sort of take him to the next level from being this sort of B-list martial arts star to a bigger action star. Fill some audiences, not just grindhouse seats. Chuck Norris was already in his 40s by this point, and was also beginning to become concerned that he might age out of the martial arts genre, that he was afraid that he'd be pigeonholed into just doing fighting movies, and that his career would be over soon. So he was looking for something that would really kind of move him more into the broader action star genre, getting to shoot guns, getting to shoot rocket launchers, hang off of moving cars, not just punch and kick guys in the ring, because yeah, that's something if once you get to a certain age, you worry about how many high kicks you have to do every day. So he had read a book by J.C. Pollock called Mission MIA, which had been very popular at the time and clearly been read by many different screenwriters to give them this idea that there were still these POWs in Vietnam that needed to be saved by one elite badass or one elite team of badasses. There were a lot of films from the Missing in Action movies to Rambo that all had this same theme. And he, again, as well, he also wanted to make something to pay tribute to his brother. He had a brother who had been killed in Vietnam, so the plight of Vietnam veterans and the idea of Vietnam was something that was always kind of in Chuck's head. He consulted his friend and frequent writing collaborator James Bruner and kind of threw some ideas at him about man going back to save his captured comrades over in Vietnam. And James, they spitballed some ideas, and the two of them basically wrote the script that became Missing in Action. So Chuck shopped this around for a long time and it took him a little while. He didn't have immediate luck, but finally he got a meeting with Canon, a company that was still up and coming at this time, and he was very excited about it. He took the script in and he told James Bruner that I am going to go meet with this guy, Menachem Golan at Cannon Films, about making Missing in Action. So the meeting happened. James Bruner was waiting by the phone, very nervously biting his nails. He finally gets the call, and Chuck says, I have good news and I have bad news. And says, go, lay it to me. Like, what is this? And Chuck tells James Bruner on the phone, he's like, well, they want to make Missing in Action, but not our Missing in Action. They actually Canon had another script that was sent in by a director named Lance Hull called Missing in Action, and Canon had actually confused the two. They thought when Chuck wanted to make Missing in Action, they thought they were talking about the same script they already had, so it was just this big confusion over the title. So Chuck was forced to decide in the office with Menachem that whether or not he was going to do it, and he signed on. He wanted to make the Missing in Action. So it was disappointing to James Bruner, who had written the script, but Canon bought it anyway. That was part of the deal. Chuck had Canon buy their script as well. So Chuck goes out and he makes this other Missing in Action movie, a movie that ultimately became Missing in Action 2 at the beginning, but more on that in a moment. as they're making it, they're clearly getting along. Chuck has very much the same sort of mentality and stamina that Cannon likes from their stars, and they're having a great time making this movie. So they decide, we're going to go ahead and shoot a sequel back to back because this is just working for us. This is great. We'll have two ready. So they flew James Brunner down, and they actually had him rewrite his Missing in Action script that he had originally written, to just change some names and things so that it could connect to the other Missing in Action script. The rename the character James Braddock being the main thing. So he already had the script. Cannon already bought it, and he just went down and rewrote it pretty much. And they started shooting that second film, and Cannon showed Missing in Action, what is essentially Missing in Action 2, the beginning, the original Missing in Action film, the first one they shot, to Warner Brothers, who had the first option at the time, the sort of a first look deal with Cannon to distribute things. Warner Brothers saw Missing in Action, that version of Missing in Action 2, and politely said, no, thank you. This is not what we want. We'll pass. So Cannon's deal with Missing Action with Warner Brothers there was kind of kaput. So they realized they had to release this themselves. When they went and saw the footage for the second Missing in Action that they were shooting, they realized that this is a better movie, a more exciting movie, definitely a better movie to launch an action star. You've got more of your big action scenes. It's almost non-stop action through a lot of it. You've got some great one-liners. It's just a lot more fun. Missing in Action 2, he largely spends most of the time being tortured in a POW camp, which is something that can happen in an action movie, but is not going to be the most exciting action movie. And so Cannon went ahead and released what was going to be the second Missing in Action movie as the first Missing in Action movie. And that was a big hit for them. It was actually their biggest hit Cannon had under Golden Globus, second only to Breakin', of all things, both 1984 releases. Of course, Warner Brothers had with good reason, were a little annoyed when they saw this movie and said, "Hey, this isn't the Missing in Action that you showed us that we said no to." But I guess there wasn't really anything they could do. So yeah, the movie did fantastically, and a few months later, Cannon went ahead and had a sequel ready to send into theaters. They re-released the first film as Missing in Action 2: The Beginning, which is one of the most wonderfully confusing, convoluted titles that you'll have. But if you're watching the Missing in Action movies and wondering why the sequel is a prequel, it's because the prequel sequel was shot first and meant to be the first movie, and they switched them around. And yeah, so that's the great Cannon switcheroo. It led to a very, very long, vibrant series of collaborations between Golden Globus' Cannon and Chuck Norris, who made many films for them over the next decade. And it really launched the second phase of Chuck Norris's career. He went from being this sort of pure martial arts actor to you're seeing him in all these cop and military roles. This led to things like Invasion USA and Delta Force. And it would really sustain him until he kind of hit the third act of his career with the Walker Texas Ranger series, kind of becoming this family action TV icon in the 1990s. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy Missing Action. I think it is a very fun one. It's my second favorite of Chuck's Cannon movies after Invasion USA. So enjoy. And I will see you next month on the All-American Spook Show podcast.
Yeah, the only thing he didn't do there is give us his rating. So
yeah, I was kind of anticipating that.
Yeah, I have to get in touch with him and see what how many cannonballs he gives it. But just based on what he said there, it sounds like he's going to give it pretty high. Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me if he comes back with 5 cannonballs, just based on what he gave Over the Top and Invasion USA back when we did those.
Yeah.
But this is the 4th version of Cannon Fodder, because we've done Over the Top, Invasion USA, Hot Chili, and now this. We also kind of, and we'll get into that on the 4th anniversary show on Halloween. We kind of count New Year's Evil and 10 to Midnight. We did those before we started doing Cannon Fodder, and those are obviously 2 pretty big or at least one of them is, a pretty big Cannon release. So we'll probably end up kind of throwing those in the Cannon Fodder pot, is kind of unofficially naming those as Cannon Fodder flicks. But yeah, so this will kind of be really the sixth movie that we've done since we kind of started going through the Cannon catalog. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what all we have to say about this one. But yeah, everything Austin said, man, that was really interesting, and it's very typical of Cannon. And like there has to be some silly story involved with it, doesn't there?
Yeah, some clusterfuck somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a miracle they got as many, like, they did a lot of bad ones, but they did a lot of good movies too. And it really is, the more you hear about their history, and then we learn about it through, doing these movies. It's a miracle they got anything good ever out, the way things just would go there, man. It was crazy. But that's the 80s for you. Now that we've got the Cannon Chronicles out of the way, I guess we can go ahead and go through a little bit of the background information. This movie, of course, is rated R. Total runtime of 1 hour and 41 minutes. It was released here in the U.S. on November 16th, 1984. I didn't really find too many other, like, crazy, funny titles. Usually we find some other alternate titles that are like, like for instance, last week when we did The Evil Dead, there was like 3 or 4 different titles, working title and all that. Most of these all just translate to, in other languages or whatever. The only other title I could find was Braddock Missing in Action. I think that was in Germany. That was about the only real, different version of it, but it's pretty much the same. And just kind of like, it probably goes hand in hand with what he was just talking about with Missing in Action too, And there was a third one, I believe, too, right, Smoke?
Yeah, that was actually called Braddock Missing in Action 3. So
yeah, there you go.
Kind of like, that other title. Well, Braddock Missing in Action is what country was that from? That translated from Germany?
Yeah, Braddock Missing in Action was Germany. Yeah, that was what it was called there. Yeah,
and that third one, I don't remember. I mean, I haven't seen that one. I've only seen that one probably once or twice. So that's one that when we get around to it, almost be like new movie to me again. I don't even remember the plot to the third one.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I saw that one. Good Lord, that's probably like early to mid 90s local TV last time I saw that one. It's been a long time. But yeah, like you said, there was a sequel, which was a prequel called Missing in Action 2, the beginning. And then that third one was Braddock Missing in Action 3. And that was in 1988 when that one came out. So it's been a while since I saw those. But yeah, back to Missing in Action. It was done for a budget of about $1 million. There's differing reports on the budget there. It's either 1.5 million or 3 million. So it's probably somewhere, the truth lies in the middle, like we say. Probably somewhere in the middle there. But the box office was really good. I mean, it made $22.8 million when it was all said and done. So like Austin said, I mean, that's pretty good, especially for early Cannon.
That right there is that's how Cannon sustained themselves. Like, they might have some turkeys coming out, but they would have something like that where it cost them whatever, 2 million, let's say. Yeah. And made 22 million. Yeah. And they did that with Breaking, and they did that with Invasion USA. They did that with enough movies to where it sustained them for a while, anyways, until the bottom fell out in the late or mid 90s or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, they were able to take that movie or that money and make another one and so on. Like they'd make a bunch of cheap movies, and then, like you said, they'd make them so cheap that when they did make money, they made a lot of money. That basically them making what was it, 22? What did I say? 22? Yeah, 22.8 million. That means they probably got to make about 20 movies off of that.
Yeah.
Where they operate.
And they put out something like Hot Chili, and then they put out Hot Resort. And
God.
Breaking them.
But yeah, this one was directed by Joseph Zito, who would also be known for Friday the 13th, the Final Chapter, 1984, The Prowler, Delta Force 1, The Lost Patrol. I mean, he's got, let's see, how many directing credits has he got on IMDb? Well, just 10, but, a lot of them were very memorable, including one we've already done, Invasion USA.
Yep.
I'm just looking through. Yeah. I mean, like, he didn't do a lot, but really, like, Red Scorpion. He made Red Scorpion in 1988, and then he only directed 2 more movies after that. He's still alive, but I guess he just, really just, he's done some producing over the last few years of some TV series and stuff like that, and that's about it. Like, he doesn't really direct or write or anything anymore. So
my favorite Friday the 13th film, though, Part 4 is my favorite of the series. And then both of y'all seen Prowler before? That slasher movie?
Yep. That's another good.
Probably not. It doesn't ring a bell.
I think we've talked about that before. Haven't seen that one?
Yep.
For something.
Yeah. Tom Savini did the effects for it. So yeah, at some point we'll get around to that one. I kind of like that one too. I kind of put it up there, it's up there. I mean, it's not up there with The Burning necessarily, but it's up there.
Yeah. But this was written by, characters by Arthur Silver, Larry Levinson, and Stephen Bing. Screenplay by James Bruner, and then it's a story by John Crowther and Lance Houle. It stars Chuck Norris as Colonel James Braddock. I mean, what more can you say about Chuck Norris? Just the man, the myth, the legend, right? Yep. We went over his, a little bit there in Invasion USA, and I mean, and I'm sure this was just the second of about 100 Chuck Norris movies that we'll probably do over the lifetime of the Spook Show. So, it also stars Emmett Walsh as Jack Tucker. This is the guy in the movie that he hires to kind of help him, get into Vietnam or whatever.
Yeah, he needs his boat.
Yeah. He has appeared before, which Donny, I guess I'll leave that for you for the Canon Connections a little bit later on if you got that one to mention. He has appeared on the Spook Show before, but he's also known for The Jerk, that classic Steve Martin comedy, which we got to get that on Cult Corner one of these days. I love that movie. That's one of my favorite comedies. He was also in Blade Runner, another cult classic. Blood Simple. I mean, he's got 231 acting credits on IMDb. So,
yeah. And I was as I was watching this movie, I was trying to think of one in particular movie out of those 231 that I remember him most from, and I couldn't place it.
Yeah, no, I don't know if there's one that you're going to be like, oh yeah, that was the dude from that, and you're always going to remember him for that. He's just a very memorable face in a lot of stuff. You've seen him in a ton of stuff. Smaller roles in the movie. You've got David Tress as Senator Maxwell Porter, Lenore Kasdorf as Anne Fitzgerald, and of course, it's not an 80s movie without James Hong. He's got the role General Tran. Of course, he would be known for probably one of the biggest ones he'd be known for would be Big Trouble in Little China.
Yep.
Classic. He was one of the voices in Kung Fu Panda series of movies. He was in R.I.P.D. I mean, he's got 454 acting credits on IMDb. That's got to be getting close to some kind of record when we talk about these credits, right, Donny? I mean, that's a shit.
Oh.
It's not as many of that random what was
French horn player,
the French horn guy.
No, actually, yeah. Well, I think he was in 12. It was like 1,200 or 1,400. Yeah, but James Hong, like 454. Is that what it is?
Yeah, 454 acting credits.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how many people we've talked about on here that have 454 acting credits.
We have not. There's another lady that's it's actually she plays Madame Pearl, the brothel. Yeah, she's got 350 or 330 or something like that.
Wow. But yeah, I mean, he's still James Hong. He's still active today.
Oh yeah. Recently, I just saw him in. He was in the theatrical release that A24 put out called "Everything Everywhere All at Once." Yeah.
Yep. I've heard good things about that. Was that pretty good?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was definitely different. It sort of takes the not to get on too much of a tangent, but the concept that Marvel has with the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
It is a different and to me even more interesting take on the multiverse than what Marvel's done with it. So, yeah, it's definitely
really though. I think that's about all that as far as the background information that I have to pull out. I mean, there is one more. There's an uncredited role by Jean-Claude Van Damme in this movie as a soldier, and I actually did notice his name when I was looking at the credits. I think he was one of the stunt guys on this.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. Mm-hmm.
That was not his first. Well, he's moving up in the world as far as action stuff. If he's going from his prior role, Breakin', the year before in 1983, he played a dancer on the beach in Breakin', and not necessarily a breakdancer Breakin'. He was just sitting there doing whatever in the background. So at least he made the step up to a soldier now. So
yeah,
get a little bit closer to the action genre.
There was only one other role that I saw before either one of those. He was in. He had an uncredited role in Woman in a Twilight Garden in 1979 as moviegoer / man in garden. Then there's
fitting
small role in Breaking and then Missing in Action. So that's crazy. This is very very early Missing in Action, and this is obviously before his breakout role in Bloodsport in 1988. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting little tidbit that I noticed there, because obviously, I mean, I didn't even did either of you catch him in it? Because I didn't. I just knew it because I saw it in the credits. But
yeah,
I didn't even know he was in this one. I called him in Breaking because I could see it. He's very clearly right from the beach. You can see him, and it's funny just because he's kind of centered in the camera or whatever. But yeah, this one I didn't even know until you just said that he was even in it.
Yeah. So I'm sure somebody out there could point it out to us. They got the freeze frame, with the arrow. There he is, but like I don't remember seeing him. So yeah, it's an interesting little tidbit. But do you guys have anything else before we move into it?
I got one thing I might as well mention it now, or I might forget later. And it's yet another tie-in with Breaking 3 is when Chuck's walking through the streets in Vietnam with the clubs, and then before he gets to the strip club,
Mm-hmm.
That hip hop just playing or whatever. It's like an old 80s type hip hop song. Well, it wouldn't have been old at the time, but it's an 80s hip hop song, and it's very familiar sounding. And that's because if you'd seen Breaking the year before, like I said, it was Ice-T's backing music for the song Reckless. He's in the club doing the rap for the song Reckless, but this is the instrumental. But I don't think there's any rapping in any of these hip hop songs it's just incidental music in the background. But it was that and the Tibetan Jam, which was another Chris the Glove Taylor and Ice-T song. But again, no, Ice-T, none of Ice-T's vocals, it's just the instrumental track. So, and he's walking through the streets near the clubs, but then he gets to the club and it's a strip club, and then that's the one where that Vietnamese lady is taking position of Rod Stewart, do you sexy or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I thought that they should have had the hip hop music playing in the strip club, and then that other Rod Stewart thing somewhere outside, on the side of the street somewhere. That would have made more sense to a strip club, at least in the terrible rendition of "Do You Think I'm Sexy?"
Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack. We promise to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, your sweet tooth. So visit our refreshment center now. Let's go.
For you, the listeners of the All-American Spook Show podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. So instead of typing in missing in action, because I was thinking that might be a little bit depressing, I went and just typed in Chuck Norris to see what will pop up. And, of course, we have Against All Odds, My Story by Chuck Norris. That one's 7.5 hours long. But there's also the official Chuck Norris fact book, 101 of Chuck's favorite facts and stories by Chuck Norris. That one's a little over 4.5 hours long. And then there's, the Justice Riders, Book 1 by Chuck Norris, Ken Abraham, Aaron Norris, and Tim Graham. That one is about 7.5 hours long, and that's Justice Riders, Book 1. So I'm going to assume that it kind of has that, Walker, Texas Ranger looking vibe to it. So I'm going to imagine that's kind of what they're going for there. But yeah, so anyways, clearly, you go in and type Chuck Norris in Audible, you're going to find a lot of shit. There's a bunch more on here. So if any of that floats your boat, and it should because it's Chuck Norris, you can go download your free audiobook today by going to audibletrial.com/spookshow. Again, that's audibletrial.com/spookshow for your free audiobook. So what we've done lately is we'll head over to IMDb and we'll just check out their plot summaries, and that usually does the job as far as like summing the movie up as as simple as possible in a paragraph or less. We've got a few here over on IMDb. I'll go with the simple one first. Colonel Braddock launches a mission deep into the jungles of Vietnam to find the POW camp that he escaped from and free the Americans still held captive there. That's the main synopsis. But then we have another one submitted by Anthony Perea. Colonel James Braddock is an American officer who spent 7 years in a North Vietnamese POW camp, then escaped 10 years ago. After the bloodiest war, Braddock accompanies a government investigation team that goes to Ho Chi Minh City to check out reports of Americans still held prisoner. Braddock gets the evidence, then travels to Thailand, where he meets Tuck, an old army buddy turned black market kingpin. Together, they launch a mission deep into the jungle to free the American POWs from General Trowell. Let's see, we've got two more. This one is submitted by Scott Lane. Colonel Braddock, who escaped from a POW camp after 10 years, returns to Vietnam. He attempts to track down the location of a POW camp and rescue the prisoners to prove that several MIAs are still alive and being held captive. He is prompted to attempt his mission because of government denials about the possibilities of existing POWs. And then the last one was submitted by RCS0411 at yahoo.com. Braddock, a man who was a POW in Vietnam, who just recently came back, is asked by an American delegation to go to Vietnam to see if there are any POWs there. When he arrives, the general in charge makes some disparaging remarks to Braddock, and they accuse him of crimes against him. Braddock later goes to the general and demands to know where the POWs are. And after telling Braddock, he tries to kill him, but Braddock kills him. What? Later, he is asked to leave. He then goes to Thailand to see a friend and to try and get those men out. But he is being pursued by a man who tortured him when he was a prisoner. So there you go. I guess that pretty much, really honestly, that one sentence probably sums it up as best as you can. You know, he's a former POW who got out and then decides to go back in and get the other guys out, even though the Vietnamese government is denying it. Yeah. That's the movie. Where do you want to start this roundtable discussion? Smoke, I'll start with you. What do you want to start with? You want to start at the beginning, the whole premise of it?
Yeah, well, we could talk a little bit about that. About this movie came out before Invasion USA, and of course it paved the way, I guess, it paved the way for Chuck throughout his career with Cannon, but definitely paved the way towards Invasion USA too. And that I kind of agree with Austin in that is my favorite Chuck movie from Cannon is Invasion USA, and followed by probably this one too as well. Like he was saying, that's my top two for sure.
Yeah. It's all slightly downhill from there, probably.
yeah, like you were saying, like Missing in Action 2, or the beginning, which was technically the first one, but like Austin was explaining, I can see why. And it's been a while since I've seen that movie, but I mean I've seen it enough times too. I can see why they would have went with releasing this one first. Just to, if you had tried to launch Chuck's career with Cannon and with being in a bigger spotlight, so to speak, with Missing in Action 2, that probably would have, I don't know what the budget was on Missing in Action 2, but I'm sure it was okay considering this movie came out first. But if that one had come out first, this one probably would have tanked as well, because they would have been like, I'm not going to see that shit after seeing the first one.
Like he said, like Austin said, it's not as exciting,
Yeah. It's not terrible.
No, and there are parts. Although it has been a long time since I saw that one too, and I'm almost positive now that I watched this one again for the first time in a while. I remember being really young and my parents, my dad or something, taking me to see one of these movies, and I was like, I wasn't sure, and this is random too because we went to the theater and saw it, and I was like, I didn't know whether it was this one. I would have only been 4 years old. Or the next one, that was only the next year, so I was like 5. So it's a very fuzzy memory. But I remember walking into a theater and seeing like Chuck Norris in Vietnam blowing shit up, So I was like, this obviously isn't something he probably should have took a 4 or 5 year old kid to, but we are. And that's what I remember. So I was like, was it this one or that one? I couldn't remember. And now that I've seen this, it was definitely the second one. He took me to see, and of course my brother, he's a few years older than me, so they would have took us both to see Missing in Action 2 in the theater in 1985, 86, whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Older, not too much older, I guess. I was 10 or 11, depending on when it came out in 84. I was either 10 or 11 in 84 when the first one came out, and 12 or 13 when the second one came out. And I remember seeing them, so it had to have been my dad or somebody took, because they were too strict at the time. They aren't going to let just anybody in there without a parent in an R-rated movie.
Yeah.
I guess I assume that it was my dad.
I haven't talked to him about it, but I guarantee it's one of those scenarios where like they wanted to go to the movies and they didn't have anybody to watch the kids. So we're just, it's the
kids.
It's the 80s. You're along for the ride,
I do remember the second movie, because the second movie is him in Vietnam, it goes back to the beginning,
Yeah.
And in the POW camp getting tortured. Now, I remember something about, it's been a while again for me too, since I've seen that second one. Not as long as since I've seen the third one, but there was an animal of some sort that somebody had, not him, but one of the other POW people had taken a liking to some kind of jungle animal. I don't know if it's a rat, maybe. Might have been a rat. And I remember the Vietnamese people killed his pet rat. I think it was a rat. And I remember that tugged at my 12-year or 11 or 12-year-old.
Oh no, the rat.
No, they killed his pet.
Oh, motherfuckers, get him. But the beginning of this movie, whenever there's basically the first, what I counted about the first 9 minutes of this movie are dream.
Yeah.
It's essentially what it boils down to. Because it keeps going.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, when he wakes up and he turns on Spider-Man. But that whole part, it just keeps going. And then I love that one part during all that, though, where like another guy attacks him and then another soldier shoots the guy. And then Chuck Norris, or Braddock, I should say, looks over and gives him the thumbs up. And then the other guy's like, yeah, thumbs up. And then he instantly dies. Yeah, all right.
And that's exactly the sound that they all make.
Probably.
Whether they get knocked out or whether they dies. It's always the same fucking sound.
I did like that though when he wakes up from his dream and he's just looking wistfully out the hotel window or whatever, and the news is on, and he turns the news and it's Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
Now there was a little story to that. Cannon had just recently got the I believe it was the rights.
I didn't look that up, but I was thinking as I was watching it, I was like, I bet you that's got something to do with the fact that Cannon was going to make a Spider-Man movie, and then
they were going to. They were able to show it royalty free.
Because
wow.
Can you imagine if Cannon had made a Spider-Man movie? I know Austin's probably got all kinds of stories, but
I'm sure he does. Well, you know how Superman 4 turned out.
Let's try to make a note of that. Yeah. Oh God. Let's try to make a note of that for whenever we're going to talk to Austin. That's kind of a tease.
Yeah.
We're going to be having him on pretty soon for another interview segment, so he can talk about Volume 2 of his Canon Film Guide. But we need to ask him about the Canon Spider-Man movie that never was. I need to know more because there's some good funny stories.
Oh gosh, there is.
I know that they had a whole bunch of promotional material for it, made up for it, like they did for anything. They always made a bunch of stuff before the movie ever came out to try and sell the movie, like cons and all that stuff.
I've actually pulled, if either of you recall, the very first Cannon Fodder we did, Over the Top, I actually pulled an audio clip for the beginning of that episode that was from a Canon pitch reel from 85 or 86. I think maybe it was from 1986 for movies that were coming. So, dude, you need to. I'm going to put a link to our socials just for this video so everyone can see it. It's crazy. It's like John Travolta movie coming soon. That was it. It was like they showed Travolta's face to Staying Alive music. And then it was like, you know who John Travolta is? Well, guess what? He's fucking coming to Cannon. And that's all it was. No name of a movie, or if it was just a name, no plot. Even Over the Top on that, it was just like Sylvester Stallone riding in a truck. Come watch it. That's all it was. It's hilarious. I'm going to put a link to that over on the social so everybody can check that out. But it reminded me of it because the Spider-Man thing was in there. Like Canon Films is, bringing you the most popular comic book character of all time, Spider-Man. Yeah. Like you said, Superman 4, we know how that turned out. So I can only imagine Spider-Man would have been.
Well, it probably would have looked somewhat like, have you ever seen that Nicholas Hammond Spider-Man that was TV?
Yeah, dude, I used to watch those when I was a kid. Yeah.
I still have a nostalgia for those. I mean, they're terrible. I mean,
god awful. Let's face it, they're god awful. But back to Missing in Action, which that has nothing to do with.
I know.
I love when Braddock is sneaking around and he eventually ends up killing General Tran. But two things there. Number one, when he's sneaking around and he jumps over that wall and he jumps on top of that dude, which clearly the sound goes, oh, and the guy is out. He's knocked out, but then he still punches him anyway. Because he lands on the guy and you can see him like, oh, he's out. And then he just, bam, and then looks around and runs off. But that brought me to the point that my first question there was, how the hell did he know where General Tran's room was? Because all he does is basically get to the point like, all right, I'm going to go look around and see how Saigon has changed. Because, now it's Human City or whatever. And he hasn't been there in a while. And then he kind of sneaks out of the hotel, looks around for a little bit, and then somehow magically knows exactly where General Tran is sleeping. Sneaks into his room, holds a knife to his throat, gets the information out of him, and then, of course, Tran pulls the gun on him, which, Chuck Norris, you're dead if you do that. You don't pull a gun on Chuck Norris. He just knifes him right in the chest. Like,
yeah, because as he was making his way through the guards, I don't think he killed anybody else except for Tran, right? Pretty sure that was it. He just knocked him. He would knock him out.
Yeah, I think he knocked. Well, I mean, it's always fuzzy in these types of 80s action. It's whether a guy dies or they get knocked out because they look dead, but you could see it either way, right?
But audibly, it's always.
It's that. Yeah, it sounds the same. Like if you're looking for audio cues in an 80s action movie, you're fucked.
Yeah,
they're all going to be Jesus.
It's almost like the falling. I mean, they kind of do it in the 80s films, but it's more in the 70s. Anytime somebody falls on the ground, and you get that sound or whatever.
And I love the over amplified punches too. I mean, it just looks like it sounds like you're knocking somebody's fucking head off in these fights. Just But that goes to something we've alluded to a couple times. Madame Pearl's whorehouse. Oh, you need to go down to Madame Pearl's whorehouse. Like, it's out front. Like, everybody knows what the fuck this is. So we're just calling it a whorehouse. And then when he enters in there, because he goes to find Jack, right, his old army. This is when he goes into Thailand, and then there's a girl standing up on the stage singing "If You Want My Body" by Rod Stewart. That was hilarious.
No, I don't know how it goes. How's it go, Josh?
If you want my body, and it's about as simple as that too. It's if you want my body and you think I'm sexy.
That's exactly.
No, you forgot though. One of the other best parts is the Casio keyboard.
It's a shit keyboard they're using. Ding 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 ding. Yep. Yeah, that was instantly like, oh my god, that was one of the better things. And the disco sign outside. It has nothing to do with anything, but it catches your eyes. You're just staring at it. I'm sitting there watching the movie and I'm just staring at that disco sign. It didn't matter anything else. I'm just fixated on the disco sign.
Yeah, I mean, it's an eyeball grabber.
Speaking of just random stuff like this in 80s movies, is there anything more 80s than the dude with the butterfly knife? There's always a fucking guy with the butterfly knife, and he's always doing the same trick. Like, what else can you do with a fucking butterfly knife?
I mean,
tick, 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 tick. Oh, man, he's a badass. He's got a butterfly knife.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, didn't now, I don't know this. Maybe I'm just recalling from
distant memories.
Yeah. Didn't one of the guys in Over the Top have a butterfly knife?
Probably. I'm telling you, it's like it's every other 80s movie. There was a guy with either nunchucks or butterfly knife or shuriken, throwing stars, or all of it.
Yeah.
Or all of it, yeah.
Yeah, or just all of it. Especially in the ninja movies,
definitely in the ninja movies, because it was, and it didn't matter what kind of ninja movie, whether the American ninja movies or the Japanese ninja movies,
whatever. Yeah, ninja, whatever, because the ninja craze that we've talked about. Yeah, like all of those weapons and then some, sais, katanas. But yeah, no, that was pretty good. And it's like we're gonna send him after Braddock, and then there's the guy with the butterfly knife, and then the guy that looks at the gun, and it's the same old shit in every 80s movie. when Braddock is in Bangkok, and all of a sudden he's in his hotel looking out the window, and then there's a guy in the other window over there pointing is that a missile launcher, grenade launcher? What the hell?
I think it was a grenade launcher.
Grenade launcher. He just looks across like just in time to like this guy shoots him, and then he doesn't even get a scratch. Like he gets rolled up by a grenade launcher and then still just able to like walk out of there like nothing happened.
Well, it is Chuck. Meanwhile, there's some Vietnamese civilians on the street who just had a little bit of rubble on them. They're like bloody faced on the ground.
Yeah.
And all that.
No, yeah.
Walking out like, oh, something.
Well, at least there is some realism there. He comes, like somebody shoots a grenade launcher into a public place. Yeah, people are going to get hurt, except for Chuck Norris.
Except Chuck, yeah.
So then, like, eventually he gets Jack and he gets on the boat and to go into Vietnam, and that guy that he's got a vengeance for that fucked with him when he was a POW, Vin.
Yeah.
He gets on the boat and attacks him with an axe, and as soon as he chops him with the axe, it gets stuck in the wall. Chuck Norris, one strike, breaks the fucking axe handle off, like whack, and then they're fighting over the axe head, and then he manages just to turn it around and then just punches it right into Vin's chest. He turns it, slow death. I think these are things that only Chuck Norris could pull off.
Oh yeah.
And then when they finally get into Vietnam back and they're on the boat, Jack is driving the boat for him or whatever, and they have a little firefight with these guys, and then that attracts the boat to turn around and come back toward him. And he just throws a grenade over, boom, and then they just cut to the next scene. Like there's There's no like, let's see, like, because he throws a grenade, some guys fly out of it, and then there's no like follow through, like, oh shit, that was messed up. It was just bam, cut, next scene. Like they just keep on cruising down the river. I just thought that was a weird quick cut on that one.
But what was the other? Well, it's a little bit later. There's a quick cut, or I don't know. It's when he jumps with the grenades. Like he's got the grenades, and the guy's down on the ground. He's jumping out of the hut.
Yeah, that one ended up being. Now that was like toward at the beginning when it ended up being like a dream sequence again or something, right?
Oh, that was the beginning sequence. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't understand that he witnesses some guy, one of the POWs or another soldier or something getting killed or something, right? And instead of just taking
stab with a bayonet or whatever.
Yeah. He's just stabbing the guy on the ground. So instead of taking the grenades off and throwing them down there, he grabs the grenades off and
jumps down.
And then he blows up. Like the way that they cut it is like the grenades blow up with him holding the grenades on top of the other guy, I guess, on the ground or something.
That's the thing. So
he's alive though.
Was that dream sequence? So that tells me that dream sequence was horseshit. Like it wasn't even something he lived through, right? Like I don't care who you are, you're not gonna survive grabbing two grenades and then going and just jumping on top of people, dude. You're gone.
Well, what happened was he pulled the pins, but he forgot to throw the. He left the pins sitting up there and jumped down with the grenades instead of throwing the pins aside and then grenades to the guy.
That reminds me. So like he finally invades the POW camp, or the POW camp, and he goes in like swinging with C4 and machine guns and all kinds of crazy shit. And that first explosion was like a nuclear bomb went off. I mean, it was huge. And he does all this damage and kills all these motherfuckers, and there's nobody there. They'd already took all the guys out. Like, oh yeah, they took a busload of those guys 3 hours ago. But I love when there's a chase. So like one of the Vietnamese prisoners tells him, oh yeah, they took them 3 hours ago. They went up the North Highway or whatever. You got to go that way. So they get back in the boat and they easily catch up with them. Like this bus left 3 hours ago. And they just go down the river, a click, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, there they are. It takes them nothing to catch up with this van of POWs, and so then they get into a jeep and they go to a spot. So yeah, he gets I think he has a fight. Like they have like a little chase thing where they're going back and forth, and he manages to get the POWs and all into a small jeep. They go down to the river to get back to the boat, where they have a boat waiting. And he props a grenade up on the back seat. He props a grenade up, like, pulls the pin, but like pulls the little handle or whatever and props it up on the back seat. So then when they pull up and barely hit the back of the Jeep, boom. I just love that it goes poof. Like, it's not even like, dude, if a grenade goes off on the back of a Jeep, wouldn't you think, Smoke, that it would blow both Jeeps up?
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't you think? But no, it doesn't. It just kind of goes poof, and all the guys just bail out like, oh.
Yeah, it said it went off like one of those bottle poppers at a New Year's party. But like a grand version.
Hey, we're here. So what'd you think of the ending? I mean, just the whole thing. Like he goes in, rescues the POWs. Of course, his friend Jack, he gets killed, right? Yeah, they blew the boat up. So, but luckily he'd had a backup where he hired this dude to come in with a helicopter. And he comes in and flies them all away. Chuck Braddock and all the POWs. He manages to fly them all away, but he tells them to go to Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, basically just to charge in right in the middle of a press conference where they're saying like, there's no denying now that we don't have any POW prisoners here. And then they
barge in.
Yeah, they barge in, freeze frame, the end. So what do you think of the ending there, Smoke?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, it's typical. It's canon. It's a canon ending for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I see where they were going with it. It's just a big, big fuck you to like you don't have any POWs, huh? Yeah, here they are on like, televised whatever thing. So yeah, I thought it was a humorous sort of situation or whatever, or like just digging in the knife. Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, it just drags them all in at the end, and see, gotcha, bitch. I guess that's pretty much where we'll leave it. So, Donnie, what's your cannonball rating for this one?
Oh man, this is actually a pretty easy one. This ranks right up there with Invasion USA and as far as like, we have a sliding Canon scale. It's not the same as our star rating. It's it's a little skewed. What was I don't remember. What was my rating for Invasion USA? So I want to make sure I'm properly rating this.
All right, just for posterity, I'll tell everybody's for Invasion USA just so we get it out there, since it is a Chuck Norris movie.
Yeah.
Donnie, you gave it 3 3/4 stars. Will gave, or I'm sorry, cannonballs. I keep doing this with the cannon rating.
Yeah.
3 3/4 cannonballs. Will gave it 3.5 cannonballs. Smoke, myself, and Austin gave it 5 cannonballs.
Yeah, I'll be re-rating that when we do our. Yeah, I will be. So just giving that. Fuck it, man. It's right there. I'm just gonna give it 5. I do like Invasion USA better. This is right there too, because it's just as, I don't want to call it ridiculous, but it's just as
action packed with these 80s movies, you can laugh at them.
Yeah.
You
know what you're getting out of them, and you know what to expect, and you're not disappointed in any of it. No. So I'm gonna go with 5.
All right, Smoke, what do you say?
Oh yeah, well, as you heard, my Invasion USA rating was 5, and as I said before, kind of echoing Austin's comments about Invasion USA being his favorite Chuck movie, and it's also my favorite Chuck movie. This one is not too far behind it, but like Donnie, though, I think I'm going to give this one a 5 cannonball rating as well. Like I said, Invasion USA edges it out. If there was a such thing as a 5.5 cannonballs or 5 1/4, it would get it. But I'm not going to undercut Missing in Action by ranking it down. So I'm just going to give it 5 as well, and just say that even though both of them I give them 5, I still like Invasion USA edges it out just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing. I believe just stacking them beside each other, which one would you rather watch? I agree. I'd probably rather watch Invasion USA again right now before I would watch this again right now. But yeah, it's right there. So you're splitting hairs. I'm going to go with 5 cannonballs. The cannon scale is a little different, I think, for all of us. So that being said, it's still like I might like one more than the other, but they're still the same score, kind of thing.
And it's for different reasons too, So
yeah, you're right. And like we said earlier, Austin didn't give us his rating there. He probably just forgotten all that information he was giving us. But I'll make sure to get his cannonball rating. But based on what he said there, I'm pretty firm in saying he's probably going to say 5 cannonballs. So it will be a minute before we get back to another Cannon Fodder. But we will be having Austin on, I believe it's episode 126 on September 19th. We're going to have him on for that one, if I'm not mistaken, to talk about his Cannon Film Guide Volume 2. So it's kind of Cannon Fodder, when you're talking nothing but his Cannon book. So yeah, by extension, we'll count it. But yeah, so we'll get his word on it by then. If not, we'll save it for then. And of course, as always, we'll get Will's thoughts whenever he returns. All right, so now that we have all the ratings out of the way, we don't do the kill count, obviously, and the gore score and everything for this, but we do have Canon Connections.
Canon Connections.
All right, so you alluded to this earlier, and we've discussed it to the moon and back. But no, some of the most obvious connections were to Invasion USA. It's got obviously Chuck Norris. You've got Golan and Globus, the same director Joseph Zito, writers, stuntman. I mean, you've got. You've got a lot of the stunt crew from Missing in Action, also on Invasion USA. And then also Emmett Walsh relays back to Critters, which is, I missed that episode.
All right, so I guess that's pretty much it for Missing in Action and this edition of Cannon Fodder. We'll leave it there. And like I said before, hopefully we'll get Will on to get his thoughts and his cannonball rating, and then we'll get Austin's and everything, and that'll settle Missing in Action. But we'll tackle that again either in Austin's interview or on the 4th anniversary special on Halloween. But next week, it's my choice, guys. And in my turn of the rotation, I have to pick a new one. So our criteria is the year 2000 to present is new. Anything 99 backwards is old. We consider old. So I have to pick a newer one, and I'm going extremely new. I'm going I'm going with something that just literally released here in the month of August. We're going to watch Prey.
Oh, fuck yeah.
This is the how would sequel, prequel, however you want to say it, to the Predator series.
Nice.
It's available on Hulu, and I'll read the synopsis. The origin story of the Predator in the world of the Comanche Nation 300 years ago. There's a little bit more, but I'm not going to read it. So, like, I've only seen clips. I have not seen this yet.
I've heard great things.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good reviews, a lot of positive things about it. So I'm really interested in checking it out. And I'm like, you know what? That I can recall right off the top of my head, we have not watched anything from this year. We haven't watched anything like really new.
Yeah, the only thing, the most recent would have been last Halloween Kills. That was
Yeah, well, we did watch Malignant too. That was fairly recent.
Yeah, was that in January?
Yeah, but that was like from 2020.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Now this might change again going forward. I'm sure we'll probably have to squeeze Halloween Ends in after it comes out,
and
of course the Monsters when that comes out. We'll squeeze those in, but
much to Donny's chagrin there.
I'm sure we'll fit those in. But yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it. I want to check this out. So what better excuse than to get it in here on the Spook Show? So yeah, that'll be next week. Prey from 2022. So I'm looking forward to it. So
same.
We'll see what it holds. We'll see if it gets positive reviews from the Spook Show gang. So, but yeah, that's it. That's it for Cannon Fodder. That's it for the Spook Show this week. And hopefully next week everyone will enjoy Prey, and we won't be praying that we'd watch something else, and we'll find out. So for Will, who couldn't be here, he's on assignment. Donny, Professor Smoke, I'm Josh. We are the All-American Spook Show podcast. We'll talk to you next week.
Please replace the speaker on its rack when you're ready to leave. Failure to do so will damage both the speaker and your car. We'll be grateful, and so will the patrons who follow you.